Testicular cancer is the leading form of cancer in the lives of many young men in South Africa and abroad. Joining us now is Michele Vanzaghi, a medical doctor who at the beginning of this year had his left testicle removed as a result of testicular cancer. He joins us now to discuss early detection, treatment and support. Michele, welcome to Afternoon Express.
Thank you, Vanessa. It's wonderful to be with you.
Now, before we get into your ordeals of overcoming your hurdles of 2020, let's talk a little bit about your story. I mean, tell us a little bit about you growing up. I believe you've had quite a colorful upbringing, much like our country's Rainbow Nation.
Very much so. So I've actually come from a multinational family. My father's Italian, my mother's very Afrikaans, and I somehow landed up speaking English. And I grew up in the Lesotho Highlands. My father worked on a project there. So I spent most of my young life really basking in South Africa's natural beauty as it is, really experiencing lots of different nationalities, lots of different cultures. And thereafter I moved from Lesotho, where we lived in Mohale, to the Cape Vineyards, where I spent or did most of my high school. And thereafter I progressed to moving into medical school, which is situated at Tygerberg Hospitals.
A beautiful melting pot, but more specifically, and I think something that shook you is when that cancerous cell hit your body. Now, let's go from the beginning of your journey as to what signs and symptoms were there and what led you to getting yourself checked out.
This has become really important to me because with testicular cancer, it happens in young people. And I think often we feel so invincible and we feel like the world will never do anything bad to us. I'm in the medical profession. I knew that I'm in a high-risk category. And I knew that these cancers often can present without any symptoms. And I had felt a tiny lump on my left testicle on regular self-examination. And I knew that I needed to get this checked out. So essentially, testicular cancer is an asymptomatic disease. You just feel a small lump on the testicle.
And you know, so many people say, I feel fine, I feel strong, I feel like I've got this sorted. But no, it could take something so small. And it also has to do with knowing your body. But talking about the treatment then and what happened thereafter, I believe you had to make the very difficult decision of removing that left testicle. And then it turned out that it actually was cancerous.
Absolutely. So when they diagnose testicular cancer, it's often on an ultrasound, which is a bedside examination. And the ultrasound will then show you that this is most likely a cancer. And the only way to confirm that diagnosis is to do an orchidectomy, which is a removal of the testicle. So, I mean, for me, this wasn't a difficult decision at all. I knew that this was a life-threatening diagnosis. And that was really easy for me to make that decision, even though it's such a big thing in a male person's life. Because of the aggressive nature of this cancer, I still had to undergo chemotherapy, which is essentially a precautionary measure that I took to make sure that the cancer wouldn't come back and also wouldn't spread to the rest of my body.
And that's exactly what I want to get into. You know, a lot of South Africans might not have had the maturity to decide that not only am I going to just make that instant decision and make that life-changing decision of taking away that cancerous testicle, but then you went further and continued with chemotherapy. I have to find out, how was the experience for you?
A lot of people know about the more common side effects, the nausea and the hair loss, which you can see. But coming from a medical background and knowing what I was going to expect to experience was quite difficult for me. Chemotherapy comes with a whole host of sort of long-term complications. In my case, I got what's called tinnitus, which is a ringing in the ears. Luckily, it's become much better and over time gone away. And also what we call a peripheral neuropathy, which is a numbness and almost a tingling sensation in the feet due to nerve damage caused by the chemotherapy drugs themselves. So that entire experience for me, albeit being so difficult, I think it also gave me such great insight into the patients that we work with and the hardships that they go through in my own career, and just understanding how difficult it is to actually be a patient.
So then how did food, faith and family support you through your treatment?
Coming from an Italian background, I think food and eating is such a massive part of our lives. And for me, cooking has become almost a therapy in itself. I've always loved it, but spending this time at home and obviously not having to be at work or being treated at home and having a little bit more time to myself, I really delved very deeply into my passion with cooking, and it's really become something that I will never neglect. We always speak about faith as carrying us through these things. It's also been very interesting for me to sort of experience how faith is important in massive diagnoses like this. And a lot of people would message me and say that, don't worry, God is on your side. We will be praying for you. And it's been massive introspection for me. And I've explored my faith and my religion so much more deeply over these last 6 months. So it's been a great awakening for me. And just a quick add-on to that, I think family is such an amazingly important thing in cancer patients or in all patients, really. And just having the support of family, in my case, my mother, who was the sort of pillar in my treatment success, I'll call it, is massively important.
In closing, Michele, I have to ask you, why is early detection so important?
So I can advocate on every level that if I had perhaps waited another 2 months, my entire life, my entire health journey could have been completely different. And the biggest message that I want to get out there is that if you're worried about something, get it checked out. Don't live in denial, because the treatment and addressing the issue is always far superior to living in denial and living in fear of what could be. And as we said, early detection really saves lives.
It truly does. Highlight, underline, bold, italics. This is something that we need everybody, even the people sitting at the back row, to hear. Well, thank you so much, Doctor, for sharing this message and sharing it louder than ever. We appreciate you and the bravery you wear every day. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
To all of the men watching out there, especially our young men, if you take away anything from this interview, I think the key message is that early detection saves lives. So if you see or feel anything foreign down there, even if it's not painful, go and get yourself checked out.